Hello, Raham. Hello, Luna. Just give me another couple minutes, everybody. I was having some computer problems and just running a little bit late today. I need to get my notes up here. Yeah, I'm still a little bit tired, but I'm okay. It was a great show. It was a great gig. It was a lot of fun. It was very beautiful out there. Really expensive, but it's like a vacation place for rich people. But at least I got to go. All right, let's see. All right, there we go. Beautiful. All right. Thank you for the gifts. All right. Hello, 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 everybody. I apologize for being a little bit late today, but I am here. Are you guys ready to learn some advanced vocabulary words? Hello, Zaza. Hello, Edouard. Hello, Loyal. Hello, hello, everyone. Okay, great. So, we're going to pick up where we left off last, which I believe was with the word ebullient. So, one more minute. It's just finishing making notes for me. While that's finishing making notes here, I'll show you guys some pictures if you guys didn't see some pictures of my show. I was out of town. I was in Idaho, which is pretty far away from where I live. And I had a really great performance with a blues trio. And the guitarist in that trio is one of my old drum students. He's 35 now, but I taught him when he was about 14 or 15, and I was in my 30s. And he's a fantastic blues guitarist and singer, as well as a good drummer, a really good drummer. And he invited me to come play this show with them. So here, let's take a look. So there was the shot from the stage from the performance a couple days ago. It was definitely one of the most beautiful views I've ever had from a stage. It was pretty amazing to see people skiing down the mountainside as we played music outside. And the weather was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was not too hot, not too cold. It was really amazing. Yeah, the mountains are really beautiful over there. They're very interesting looking mountains because these mountains, you can see a lot of trees on them. But to be honest, a lot of these mountains were pretty barren. They didn't have a lot of trees on them at all. It was very unique. I haven't seen many mountains like that. So yeah, this is Mike here on guitar. And this is Sam playing bass here, and that's me on drums. And actually, all three of us, we went to the same high school, but at different times. They're much younger than I am, so I was a teacher at their high school, and I went to the same high school many years previously in the past. But we all went to a performing arts high school in Cincinnati, Ohio, called the Cincinnati School for Creative and Performing Arts. And it's one of the top arts schools, high schools in the country. And so, yeah, it was great to have a little trio of mixed people from that school. Here's a little blues. There you go. It's a famous blues song called Red House. Many people did that one. Jimi Hendrix did that one. Lots of different guys did that one. Is there snow? Yeah, of course there's snow. This is a place called Sun Valley, Idaho, and it's one of the most famous ski resorts in the world, actually. One of the most famous ski places in the world to go skiing. There was about, I think about maybe 1,000 or 1,200 people there total. There you go. There's the ski lift going right up the hill, and you can see that's a ski trail going right down the mountain. Beautiful river right behind the stage. Right behind the stage, they had this beautiful, beautiful river. I wish I had time to go fishing because it was such a beautiful river. And there we are, the Mike Reese Trio. Let's see here. There's another view from the stage. Yeah, like I said, it was about 1,000 people in total at the show, maybe 1,200, something like that. And yeah, you can see the ski lift right here. And this is the mountainside where people were skiing down right here. A big lodge right here, big beautiful lodge. I'll show you the inside of that here in a second. Here's some of the people here. Hold on. Beautiful day. Look at that. Look at that weather. There you go. There's some people skiing. This was the final day, the closing day of ski season. So yeah, that's the reason why it was. We were performing for the final day of ski season. There, it was the last chance for people to get up and go ski. There's the big lodge, River Run Day Lodge. There's the inside of the lodge. Look how big that thing is. It's huge. We had some great food, great music, great company. That's my old drum student right there, Mike, the singer and guitarist from the band. This is when we were just getting ready to sound check. We had to test out all the equipment before the show. And it was the first time we'd ever played together, so that was fun too. It was a lot of pressure. We only had one short rehearsal in the hotel room for about 2 hours, and then the next day we had to get on stage and play. So yeah, that's it. That's it. I think that's all the pictures. Those are all the pictures I have. So yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. And I have not played a show in quite some time, so it was really good for me. Spiritually, music does a lot for my soul. So anyway, it was great. Yeah, you're welcome, Bana. All right, I think my notes are ready now, so let's get started and do some vocabulary, shall we? Okay, share screen. Okay, here we go. You are welcome, Bana. So we're starting with the word ebullient. Ebullient is a nice word. I like this word. Again, these are advanced vocabulary words, everybody. These words are great for the IELTS test, the TOEFL test, the GRE. If you're trying to get your, go to get a master's degree, then these are great words to know. I can try to zoom in a little bit more, Crystal, but I already zoomed in quite a bit. I don't know if I can get it too much bigger without it looking funny. Is that better? Yeah, okay, that's better. All right, ebullient. So what does ebullient mean? It means cheerful and full of energy, bubbling with enthusiasm. So the ebullient teacher taught you advanced vocabulary. I was feeling extremely ebullient on stage with my old student playing music. I was cheerful, I was full of energy, and I was bubbling with enthusiasm. Yeah, it's like enthusiastic, but it's much more, it's a stronger version of enthusiastic. Oh, look at Zubair already breaking out the sentence using the word. I'm thrilled to fathom the new world ebullient, elucidated by dexterously awesome teacher Mark. Wow, well done, Zubair. Well done. Quite a few good words in there. Hello, Belen. You're ebullient to sleep. Me too. I still need to catch up on more sleep. So where does this word come from? It comes from Latin, bullientum, or bullere, which means to boil out. So this one is kind of like you're bubbling over with enthusiasm, right? When you boil water, if you don't watch it, it might bubble over, right? The boiling becomes too much and it goes over the top, right? So that's the way that this word is. Ebullient is related to the word boil or bubble. So the E in ebullient means X, meaning out, out. And then bullere, meaning to boil or bubble. That's where you get the word bubble, or I'm sorry, the word boil from. And the word bubble, from bulla, bubble. What would be the opposite of this word? That's a good question. Let's see. Probably just depressed. Maybe depressed would be one way to say it, or perhaps you could say indolent. Indolent is a word that means kind of lazily tired. And lethargic would be another good one. Yeah, maybe. Lethargic could be good. Yeah. Sluggish is not too bad. Yeah. Okay. And it's related to the word boil. It's related to the word bullet. And it's related to the word bouillon. These are words that are also derived from the same Latin words. So yeah, originally in English it was really used to describe boiling. So when we first used this word, we were using it to talk about something boiling. But then later it became a metaphorical meaning. And you use it in the context of emotions and moods and celebrations and descriptions of personality. So, for example, his ebullient laughter could be heard from the hallway. Or the crowd was ebullient as the band took the stage. They were, indeed. They actually really liked what we did, and they invited us to come back next year to perform again. I hope that maybe I can do that. Okay, so why don't you guys try to use the word ebullient in a sentence, and then I will correct it for you. Bullient. No, can't do that one. Yeah, just ebullient. Ebullient. Or if you want to describe it in a noun form, it would be ebullience with a CE at the end. Anyone want to use that in a sentence? Ebullient. Do I know about BTS? Yeah, I know about them. Sure. Mark is an ebullient teacher. I try to be. I think I don't always succeed, but I try to be. As much as I can. The cheerleader was ebullient in her performance. That's a good one. Yeah, cheerleaders have to be ebullient, right? Yeah. Part of being a cheerleader is having ebullience. If you're not ebullient, then they probably won't want you on the cheer team. Anyone else? Ebullient? We're doing advanced vocabulary, guys. If you want to learn advanced vocabulary, then you're in the right place. But it would be better if you guys tried to use the words as I teach them to you, you know? Aya, you could say, at my graduation party, my mom was ebullient. Yes, at my. In my You could say in my, but it's awkward to say in my graduation party. You could say my mom was ebullient during my graduation party or at my graduation party. When you say in my graduation party, it implies not that she's there, but that she's inside. And that's not what you're trying to say. You're trying to say she's there, right? So at would be the proper word. At is for occasions, right? Or to describe a place. Okay? If you say in, some people will say that's not correct. It's not that it's not correct. It is correct. It just describes something completely different, right? And it's not what you're trying to say. So that's the difficulty with prepositions. There are some prepositions which will describe exactly what you want to say, and then there are some prepositions that will describe it in a slightly different way, and it might be a little confusing for some people if you use the wrong preposition, right? And so that's the reason why you want to say at. That's right. It means you're part of something. For example, I can't say in university, right? Although, Crystal, that is said every once in a while. Again, like I said, the rules with prepositions are not rules so much as they are guidelines, right? So when I was in university, right, or in America, we actually usually don't use the word university in that way. That's the British way to say it. We will say when I was attending college or when I was at the university, right? When I was studying at the university. So, yeah, it's kind of funny. The British do it differently than we do. They also say, we say on the weekend, right? And they say on holiday, right? Different things like that, right? Let's go to the next word. The next word is facetious. Facetious. I think we did this one before, but it's a good word. So we'll repeat this one. Facetious is a word that means joking or jesting, often inappropriately, and it's not meant to be taken seriously. So it's like a form of sarcasm. To be facetious is like a more formal version of sarcasm. Sarcasm is a very common thing, especially in America. We use sarcasm a lot. But facetious is like the more academic version of sarcasm. Okay, it's saying something in jest. And it comes from the French word facetieux, I think. Is that how you say it? I always forget T-I-E-U-X. I think that's tio or show. Derived from facetiae, meaning jest or witticisms, from the Latin word facitia. And so facetious or facetious means witty or elegant or refined. But really, again, this is like originally it was a kind of literature. It was a kind of literature, right? They used to write these types of witty, risque type of literature in the Renaissance. And it came from about the 17th century. And it originally it implied sophistication and wit, but now it often implies sarcasm or poor timing. I don't know if I would say poor timing. Like I said, I think the best way to explain it is to be facetious is like to be sarcastic, but it's a more academic, formal version of sarcasm. Okay? So, take a look at some examples here. The context we have is for humor, for tone, and for casual conversation. Okay? Although I do think that this is, to be facetious, you can use this in a formal conversation as well. Carefully. Right? If you're careful about it and not disrespectful, then you can use a facetious tone. His facetious comment about the teacher earned him detention. Yeah. So, yeah, he was in class and he said something sarcastic about me, and I didn't like it, so I gave him a detention. Okay? Crystal says his comments were meant to be facetious, but they offended many people. Very good. Yes, that's correct. And let's see. She was being facetious, but the joke fell flat. Right? So that means she said something she thought was funny, but nobody else thought it was funny. Okay, so hello. Guys, if you are just joining, I'm teaching a class now. It's time for you to pay attention to what I do. Okay? If you don't know what I'm doing, the best way to find out is to be patient and listen. It won't take long for you to figure out what I'm doing. And Fluffy, in terms of giving prompts for ChatGPT to give good answers, I will show you the prompt I gave for this later. But again, today I am teaching a class. It's about advanced vocabulary. So if you want to learn advanced vocabulary, then you're in the right place. Okay? What does it mean to fall flat? It's like a phrasal verb. It's a kind of a slang phrasal verb that basically means that the joke, we also say it didn't hit its mark, right? So like, when you shoot an arrow, you're trying to shoot the target right in the middle. But if you miss the target, then we say the joke missed its mark, or didn't hit its mark, or it fell flat, which means that you were trying to tell a joke, but instead of it standing, it fell flat, right? So it means it didn't have the effect you wanted. Everybody, they thought it was not funny. It failed. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't know how much it is per month. Google it. Garrulous. Here's the next word, garrulous. Garrulous means excessively or pointlessly talkative, right? We did talk about this one before. Yes, I'm reviewing a little bit, but that's okay. From the Latin garrulus, from gerile, meaning to chatter or prattle. Prattle's a word we never really use anymore. I don't know why. It's a good word. Yeah, I know, Crystal. I'm sorry. I guess I chose the wrong place to start back from, but that's okay. It's related to the word gargle and gurgle. Gargling is when maybe you have mouthwash in your mouth or you gargle salt water sometimes when you're sick, right? You put some salt water in your mouth and go, gurgle, right? That's gargling. And gurgle is the word, it's an onomatopoeia that means the sound someone makes when they're dying or when things are bubbling, like the last breath of air is to gurgle, right? You're right, the opposite would be laconic. That's right. Yeah, that's correct. Okay? Used in English since the 17th century and often pejoratively, right? So meaning not particularly nicely, right? If you don't like the way someone is, you might say he's a garrulous character, and that means you're trying to say they talk too much, not in a positive way. It's associated with superficial or trivial talk. And we use this to describe people, characters, or social behavior. Oh, there we go. Garrulo in Spanish means dumb. Oh, that's interesting. I bet it probably comes from the same meaning, same background. The garrulous host barely let the guest speak. The garrulous host barely let the guest speak. And though intelligent, he lost credibility with his garrulous manner. I think I do that sometimes. It happens. Fluffy, did you want to know what trivia is? Do you not know what trivia is? Trivia is a modern word that means usually questions. Like, for example, in America, there are many bars that have trivia night, or restaurants sometimes have trivia night, where people will come and they have like a group where everybody has to try to answer questions about the world, about history, about science, about anything. It's trivia, right? And the word trivia actually comes from the Latin word meaning where three roads meet. That's why it has the letters TRI in it. Tri means three, and trivium was the area where three roads would meet. It's a public space. Now, how did that become about questions? You know, and questions about different topics. Well, it's like a public forum where you discuss things, the trivium, right? And so the idea was that trivia are things that are discussed in a public forum. Again, now it has become something like at a restaurant or a bar where you go and talk about different questions for fun. For fun. A trivial person. That's a good one. So to be trivial is to be kind of unserious. It's not very valuable or very important, okay? A person that's concerned with only small, unimportant things is someone who's a trivial person, right? So I think in that case, it's almost like an opposite effect of instead of thinking about it like trivia usually means knowledge. Like now, when we talk about trivia, are you good at trivia? That means, do you know a lot of things about many different topics? You know, if people ask you questions about science, can you answer them? If people ask you questions about history, can you answer them? That's to be good at trivia. But to be trivial is more like you're not interested in many topics. You don't know a lot about things. So you're only interested in unimportant things. Trivial Pursuit is a famous game where you answer questions of trivia. Again, that's the same word meaning trivia. Trivial Pursuit. So put it this way. Is it important to ask questions about things like, you know, who was the first scientist who discovered, you know, lead? You know, is that important? No, not really. in the big scheme of things, it's not that important, right? So, Trivial Pursuit is the pursuit of trivia questions, right? And it's kind of unfortunate that we look at it that way, that we consider questions about knowledge about the world to be kind of unimportant. What does that say about society? And that's the reason why knowledge is power. And if you have no knowledge, you have no power. Yeah, I like that game too. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Ooh, here. I think this is the word we didn't do yet, Crystal. I don't believe we did this one. To harangue someone. To harangue someone. It's pronounced harangue. And it means a long, aggressive, or passionate speech. So it's kind of like someone's yelling at you and they keep going on and on and on. They are haranguing you. Okay? I don't wish to be harangued. Means I don't want you to just keep talking and talking and talking, which is something I do a lot. It comes from Middle French, and before that from the Italian aringa, meaning a speech to a public assembly, right? Aringare, meaning to speak in public. So originally it's from Frankish, which is an early version of French. And it's similar to when you speak to an assembly. When you speak to an assembly. Is it a verb? Yes. Well, I think it's both, if I remember right. To harangue and a harangue. Yeah, so in this case, they're using it as a noun, but let me double check to make sure. Yeah, it's also a verb. Yeah, so in this case, they're using it as a noun, but it's also a verb, right? So the environmentalists delivered a harangue against pollution at the summit would be a noun version of it, right? We were subjected to a long harangue about company rules, but you could also say the new CEO harangued us regarding the new company rules. That would be the verb form of it, right? Or the environmentalist, you could also use it as an adjective if you said haranguing. For example, the environmentalist delivered a haranguing speech against pollution at the summit. Is it the same as attacking? No, it's more like berating. To berate and to harangue, I think, are very, very similar. Berate means to constantly kind of yell at someone about something, right? You know, you did this and I didn't like that you did this and you did that and don't do this anymore. And if you ever do this again, then I'm going to be really upset and you're going to be fired and I'm going to tell this person and that person. That's to berate, but it's also to harangue, okay? I think those could be used pretty synonymously. Okay? No, Allison, none of these are used in daily conversation. These are advanced vocabulary words. That's the title of today's topic, is advanced vocabulary words. Advanced vocabulary words are not ever used in daily conversation, right? Or rarely used in daily conversation, okay? So these are words. If you want to take the IELTS test, these are good words. If you want to take the TOEFL test, these are good words. If you want to take the GRE or go to college or university, these are good words. Okay? Can you use it in a court? Yeah, you could. Sure. Can I give a different example of what, Crystal, in terms of using harangue? Sure. Let's just do this. Let's just ask ChatGPT. Give me 5 sentences using harangue as a noun, verb, and adjective. Whoops. Right, so what does it say here? It says the word harangue doesn't have a commonly accepted direct adjective modern or form in modern English. But many English words, if you add the ing to the end of it, that's how language is created. Stop haranguing me would be a verb form of it, but he gave a haranguing speech. That's an adjective form, okay? Okay, so first, as a noun, the professor launched into a passionate harangue about the failures of the education system. After enduring a 10-minute harangue from her boss, she seriously considered quitting. So this is the noun version, okay? As a verb used with the object, the coach harangued the players for their lack of effort during the game. He was haranguing the crowd about the dangers of modern technology like a prophet of doom. Okay, so that's as a verb. And then as an adjective using a creative or participial use, His haranguing tone made it impossible to focus on the actual content of his argument. His haranguing tone, right? So again, it's functioning as an adjective to describe the tone. All right, let's go back to the list of words here. We were next at number 9. Ooh, this is a good one. I love this one. Yes, the manager gave the team a long harangue after they lost the game. Yeah, that works. Yeah. Okay, and again, if you guys want to use any of these words, type a sentence and I'll tell you if you used it correctly or how you should use it. Okay? Ineffable. I love this word. Ineffable. It means too great or extreme to be expressed or described in words. So it's so beautiful, it's so amazing, it's so incredible that it's ineffable. You can't find words to describe it. It would not do it justice, right? So if something is ineffable, it's something that you feel so strongly about that it's hard to describe it using words. Okay? It comes from the Latin word ineffabalis, in meaning not, and effabalis meaning utterable, right? So it means not utterable, not able to be spoken, okay? Let's see, fari, which is the base root of the word here, ex and fari. So the last bit, the fabilis, means it comes from the word fari, meaning it's from the same root as the word fable, and also the word infant. Why? Because infants are unable to speak. So that's why we call them infants, because they are unable to speak. And fate comes from the word fatum, which means what is spoken. Emotions. We use this word in the context of emotions, beauty, spirituality, or awe. Awe. So, examples. Her joy at reuniting with her family was ineffable. Her joy at reuniting with her family was ineffable. The ineffable beauty of the northern lights must be seen to be believed. Yeah, inexpressible. You can't put it into words. It's too beautiful. It's too incredible. It's too amazing. I think it's nearly always used in a positive context, but I imagine you could use it in a negative context. Let me check something. Let's see what it says. So it can be used. It's almost always used to describe something beautiful or positive, but it can be used to describe things that are upsetting or difficult, like the ineffable sadness of the situation, the ineffable sadness, or ineffable sense of dread, or the ineffable horror, right? It just means, again, it's so horrible, you can't put it into words. It's so dreadful, it's so sad that you can't find the words for it. Okay? If you're new, hello, I'm teaching English vocabulary, advanced vocabulary. If you are not an advanced speaker or learner, this might not be the right class for you. The next word, I love this word too, juxtapose. Juxtapose. To juxtapose something means to put two or more things side by side for comparison or contrast, right? To compare means to look at how they are similar. To contrast means to look at how they are different, okay? And it comes from the French word juxtaposer, which was coined in the 19th century. Juxta means beside or next to, and poser means place. Good, that's a good one to have in your notes. Yeah. Juxta comes from the Latin word iusium, meaning yoke or join. Yoke and join. To yoke is to put something like, for example, we put a yoke on an ox or oxen. Sometimes there's a yoke that connects the two, right? And it's related to the word adjoin, conjugal, and subjugate. All these words come from the same root word, juxta. Let's see. When do we use this word? In context, we use it with visual art, literature, analysis, and comparison. So, the museum exhibit juxtaposes modern art with classical sculpture. So you go to the museum and they have some modern art and some classical sculpture side by side so that you can compare and contrast them. Okay? She juxtaposed her childhood photos with those of her own child. So she has pictures of herself as a child and pictures of her baby as a child, right? And now you look at them together to see what are the similarities or differences. That's to juxtapose something. It's a good word. To juxtapose. Okay? You guys want to try using that one in a sentence? Can we use it with opposite things like sweet and sour? Yeah, of course you can. You can use the, honestly, you can use it with any things that you're trying to compare in contrast. So they could be things that are extremely different, or they could be things that are slightly different. So, for example, to juxtapose the coffee of this company against the coffee of another company would be to put them side by side for a comparison by price, or it's just another form of the word compare. But in this case, juxtapose implies that it could be to compare or contrast or both. Right? Compare is always talking about how they are similar. Contrast is always talking about how they are different. Juxtapose implies either. Okay? It just means that you're looking at them and trying to see how are they similar or different. Okay? So, for example, you could juxtapose the services of this company against the services of that one, right? There are two companies that do the same thing, maybe, but you're comparing or contrasting them. Can I say paradise juxtaposed hell? I think you don't want to use it in that particular way. You could say maybe, let me think about this for a moment. Maybe you say something like, one must juxtapose hell against heaven when considering their morality or ethics. Something like that, right? Which in this case would be to talk about juxtaposing them against each other or beside each other. Yeah, you need to elaborate a little bit more. Okay? All right, so there's juxtapose. That's a great word. All right, let's move on. I'm going to give you some new words. Let me go back and show you the prompt I gave. Originally, I gave this prompt. Let's see. Whoops. Give me a list of 30 advanced vocabulary words, C1 or C2 level, with definitions, full etymology, common context, and multiple example sentences. And sometimes I put this at the end. This is not a coding prompt because ChatGPT sometimes gets confused. I don't know why, but occasionally when I ask it a question, it thinks I want coding, like Python coding. But yeah, obviously I don't, right? So sometimes I just put that at the end to make sure it understands. Destiny etymology means the history of where the words come from and how they've changed over time. Okay, so let's try this again. We'll just do 10, not 30. Sometimes if you ask it to do too much, like 30 words, then you won't get a full response. It will shorten things too much. So sometimes it's better to ask it for a smaller number of things in greater detail. Okay? And let me see here. Let me check one more thing. Okay, let's try. Okay, so here are 10 more advanced vocabulary words, each with definition, expanded etymology, common usage, and multiple example sentences. Let's see. Let me check the words first. Okay. Yeah, I think some of these might... It repeats itself every once in a while, I've noticed. But that's okay. Okay, so the first word is a good word. Again, I think we've done this one before if you've watched me before. Yeah, we've studied the first one, but it's a good one. Ubiquitous. Ubiquitous is a good word. It means present and appearing or found everywhere. Okay? It comes from the Latin word ubiquitas. Ubiquitas, meaning everywhere. Ubi means where, and in this case, the K means and, more. So, where? All over, right? Everywhere. It comes from the 1830s, and it used to be in a theological context that was describing divine omnipresence. So, like, God is ubiquitous or whatever, right? That's the original way they described it, was he's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. There we go. Smartphones have become ubiquitous in modern society. You could say McDonald's is ubiquitous around the world. Cars are ubiquitous in big cities. That's a good one. Yeah, well done. So how do we use it? We're talking about technology, right? Television, ubiquitous, right? iPhones or phones, cell phones, they're ubiquitous. Global culture, right? Again, McDonald's is kind of a global culture now, unfortunately. It's ubiquitous, right? Marketing, right? Meaning when you market something, or you're advertising, you want your advertising to be of a ubiquitous nature because you want it to reach as many people as possible, right? And then nature itself, right? Nature is ubiquitous. Okay, smartphones have become ubiquitous in modern society. Her name was ubiquitous in the media after the award, right? So she won some famous award, and now everybody's talking about her. Her name has become ubiquitous. Okay? The brand's logo was ubiquitous, appearing on everything from billboards to coffee cups, right? Like the Nike Swoop, The Nike swoop is ubiquitous. Everybody knows that when they see it, right? Okay? Ubiquitous? We all good? If you have questions, ask me questions. Be more like Crystal. Crystal's paying attention. She's in class. You guys are in a class too. Raise your hand and you can ask me questions, right? And by that I mean don't raise your hand. I mean write your question and I'll answer it. Pretend you're in a classroom. If you don't understand, I'm the teacher. That's what I'm here for. You should ask me questions. Okay? Take advantage of the class that you're in. Vitriolic is the next word. Vitriolic. Filled with bitter criticism or malice. Sometimes I tend to be a little vitriolic these days. To have vitriol. Vitriol is, it's actually a term that came from sulfuric acid. In Latin, sulfuric acid is a kind of acid that burns terribly. It's a very caustic substance that burns terribly. And it comes from the Latin word vitriolum, meaning glassy due to the glass-like appearance of the sulfate crystals. So originally, this word, vitriol, was talking about acid. Acid it burns, right? It literally will burn you. If you pour acid on your hand, it will burn, right? So they use this in a metaphorical way now to say that your words are vitriolic. They're like acid. They burn. Okay? Malice, Kira, malice means like anger. It's like a more formalized, strong form of anger. To have malice for someone is to have strong feelings of anger towards someone. Okay? So the original word is talking about acid, and now it's been adopted figuratively to describe corrosive speech or caustic speech, meaning your words are like acid. They burn. They hurt someone badly. Okay, we use this when we're talking about politics, criticism, debates, and maybe in literature. His vitriolic rant alienated even his supporters. So, yeah, if you start saying, I don't like this and this is terrible and I'm never going to do this because this is so bad and blah, 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 and you just keep going on and on and on about how terrible something is, that's a vitriolic rant. It's used to refer to words that hurt people. Yeah, again, Nareo, I want you to think about acid. Okay, if you pour acid on someone, that's going to burn them, right? Well, if your words are really terrible words, that will burn them also. Okay? Destiny, to alienate means to make them feel like they're an alien. And what is an alien? It means someone not from here. So to alienate someone means to make them feel like they are outside, not a part of this, not included. Okay? It's kind of like making them feel like strangers, right? So let's say, let me give an example of alienate. Maybe you're hanging out with a group of people, right? You're hanging out with some new friends, and they all love to talk about sports, right? And they're talking about sports, but you don't really know anything about sports. You're not very interested in sports. And so you're not really talking, and they're not really paying attention to you, and they're not really including you. They are alienating you because they're discussing something and they can tell that you have either no knowledge or no interest in this thing. So that's a way of alienating someone, okay, to make them feel like an alien, like I don't know anything about this, okay? Can you say I feel alienated? You mean right now? Am I alienating you? He didn't want to alienate his friends by always talking about politics. Right. That's right. That's good. Yeah. In that example. Yeah, right. You can, that's right. If you're talking about, if you wanted to say, all of your friends are talking about sports and they finally notice that you have not said anything and they say, hey, are you okay? And you can say, well, yeah, I just feel a little bit alienated because you guys are talking about sports and I'm not interested in sports. Okay? She gave a vitriolic speech that hurt everyone's feelings. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. The editor's review was unnecessarily vitriolic, bordering on personal attack. Okay, so an editor gave a review about a movie or a book or a restaurant or something like that, and it was really vitriolic, which means overly negative, almost in a personal attack kind of a way, right? So sometimes when people give reviews, it sounds personal, right? It doesn't sound objective, it sounds subjective. And that could lead it to feel vitriolic. Okay, she responded to the vitriolic comments with surprising grace, right? So someone said something really, really mean to her, but she handled it well. She handled it well. Okay? Edward says, the bad behavior of my friend, I make him alienating. Edward, you could say, my friend's bad behavior has now alienated him from our group. That means you have a friend, but he's been doing bad things, and now the group doesn't really like him anymore. Okay, so in this case, alienate can be used to describe the way you feel about a situation, or it could be used to describe the way a group feels about you, right? So in his situation, he's talking about one of his friends has started doing bad things, and now the group feels alienated by that. They don't want to be a part of that, right? So they feel alienated by his decision to do bad things. Yeah, in that case, you could reverse it that way. A beginner never feels alienated in his class. Well, there will be a few people who might feel alienated by this level of vocabulary. This is not for beginners generally, this particular class today. So if you're a beginner of English, then you might feel alienated by this advanced topic. Okay? Read the context above. Which context? I'm not sure. Jason said, not true, totally. So apparently I do alienate some people sometimes. I try not to, but, not every class is for every person, right? Let's go to the next word, to obfuscate. To obfuscate is to make something deliberately unclear or difficult to understand. To feel, if you're deliberately making something confusing or difficult, then you are obfuscating. Okay? Politicians do this a lot. Politicians love to obfuscate when they answer questions. Thank you, Jason. I'm glad it's not the way you feel, but yes, good. All right, so to obfuscate means to deliberately make something unclear. It comes from the Latin word obfuscare, meaning to darken. Ob means over, and fuscus means dark. So the meaning of obfuscate means to make dark. That's what it really means, is to make dark, right? So something is unclear. It's not well lit. You can't see it well. It's too dark. You can't see it clearly. Okay? We talk about this in politics, legal documents, technical language, right? So sometimes you get, maybe you bought a new phone or you bought a computer and it has a manual, a book, right? And sometimes the language in that manual or book is really difficult language, and it obfuscates the directions, okay? Or legal language is often obfuscating language. If you read any legal documents, they are often filled with something we call legalese, right? You guys know Chinese and you guys know Japanese. Do you guys know legalese? Legalese means language that's used in law that's often very, very difficult, confusing language. That's correct, legalese. Let's see. Please write this word. Which word do you want me to write? Obfuscate? It's right there on the screen. Can you see it? My friend makes me obfuscate with my father. Not exactly, Edward. I'm not sure what you mean by that. To obfuscate means to talk about something in a very confusing way. So I'm not sure how your friend would talk about something in a confusing way with your father. Or how does he make you? I don't think people can't make you obfuscate. You choose to obfuscate. Okay? Obfuscate is a word that's often used. Think about politicians, right? When you ask a politician a direct question, did you do this thing? And they say, well, sir, in all honesty, I have to say that while your question is a valid question and has many important points that must be considered, in regards to this situation, I must say that there is not much to say. That's obfuscating, right? He's using words. He doesn't want to answer directly. He's trying to confuse. He's trying to make it unclear. Okay? For example, just yesterday, I saw a clip about the guy who was just recently hired to be the new head of NASA in the United States, right? And he was at a political committee where they were asking him questions. And one politician kept asking him over and over. He said, when you were hired for the position of head of NASA, was Elon Musk in the room? And every time he answered, he kept saying, well, sir, I was interviewed for the position by Donald Trump. And he kept asking the question, and he kept answering, well, I was interviewed by Donald Trump. But that's not what he asked. He asked, was Elon Musk there? Was Elon Musk in the room? Was he there? Was he there? Was he there? And he kept saying, well, I was interviewed by Donald Trump. Well, I was interviewed by Donald Trump. But he's obfuscating. He clearly does not want to answer the question. He's trying to confuse or to answer the question in an unclear manner. Okay? Let's see. Shah says, I was trying to make him understand the situation, but he thought I was obfuscating something. Yes, that could work, Shah. I was trying to make him understand the situation, but he thought I was obfuscating Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, sometimes beating around the bush is a form of obfuscation. Yeah. I obfuscate the concept of this term. Okay. But if I obfuscated the concept of this term, then you wouldn't have used it correctly. And you did. Although, Jason, you're in an English class. Don't write the letter U for the word Y-O-U. No, sir. No, sir. You're in an advanced English class for advanced vocabulary. It doesn't take you so much time to write the letters Y-O-U. You're not saving that much time. Okay? U does not equal Y. No, it means Y-O-U. But you should not use that. I don't approve. I don't approve of things like that. I don't care how much time you think it saves. It's just write the words. 4-year-olds use the letter U, but if you're not 4, then you shouldn't use the letter U to write the word. You're not in that big of a hurry. Nobody is in that big of a hurry. Nobody. Okay. Oh, you made a mistake. Oh, I'm sorry. I understand now. Okay. Why always you? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not sure. Sometimes it's hard to understand the comments. I am using my computer for this, Edward. Romina says, could it be the accused became nervous and obfuscated? Yes, that's exactly well said. Well done. Yeah. The accused became nervous and obfuscated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Escapism. Escapism is... it's a word that means to do something to try to distract yourself from reality. So, video games sometimes are a form of escapism, right? If you're spending, you should be doing your work, you should be taking care of your family, you should be doing some stuff, but you play video games instead. Sometimes that's a form of escapism. You're trying to escape reality. Today when you were doing the IELTS listening test, you heard W as W. That's because that's exactly what it is, Nereo. The letter U, I'm going to tell you this because I like this story. The letter U, or I should say, U used to look like a V. Okay, in Latin, the letter U looked like a V. And when you put two V's together, you have the double U. That's exactly, the pronunciation of W is W. That is exactly the pronunciation. That is exactly what you're supposed to say. I look like Skrillex. Okay. I'm not sure what he looks like, but all right. Okay, and Noor, be patient. Be patient. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at these sentences here. The spokesperson tried to obfuscate the issue with vague language. Right? So somebody was asking this person about something and they didn't want to answer it directly, so they used vague language, not clear language. Okay? Legal jargon, legalese. Legal jargon often obfuscates the meaning for average citizens. It makes it ambiguous. Yeah, but it's ambiguous deliberately, right? To make something deliberately ambiguous is to obfuscate. Okay? Rather than answer directly, he obfuscated the question with a long, irrelevant monologue. right? Politicians, again, do that often. Sometimes, if you ask a politician a question and they just won't answer and they keep doing that over and over again and you feel like you want to strangle them because they won't speak directly, they are obfuscating. That's how I feel when I see politicians speak. I often feel like they're obfuscating and you want to just strangle them. Okay, here's another good word. The next word is magnanimous. Magnanimous. Magnanimous means generous or forgiving. Usually it's often used in the term of being generous, especially toward a rival or someone less powerful, right? So it comes from the word magnus, meaning great, and animus, meaning spirit or soul or mind. So magnus, the magnanimous, means great spirit. If you're a magnanimous person, it means that you show kindness when maybe you don't need to, but you choose to. You show protection, you show care, you show generosity. That's to be magnanimous. So if you're showing generosity when you don't really need to, when you're showing kindness or care or compassion when you don't really need to, then that's to be magnanimous. Magnanimity. It really means great soul, to have a great soul. And when do we use this? We use this when we're talking about conflict resolution, leadership, or sportsmanship. So she was magnanimous in victory, praising her opponent's efforts. So she won. She won, and she could have said like, ha ha, you lost, I won, you're terrible, I'm great. But no, instead she said, I want to give some praise to my opponent who gave such an amazing effort in this contest, right? That's to be magnanimous. She won, but she's showing some compassion and kindness towards the person who lost, her opponent. His magnanimous gesture helped repair years of tension. So maybe you have had maybe you and your brother have been not getting along for many, many, many years. But suddenly your brother does something very nice for you without any reason. He just decides to be really, really generous and nice to you. That would be magnanimous. Okay? Despite being wronged, he responded in a magnanimous way. Despite being wronged, he responded in a magnanimous way. So someone did something to him, something bad to him, but he decided to respond with kindness. That's to be magnanimous. Okay? Edward, you could say despite many people abusing me in the past, I have decided to show my magnanimous nature by forgiving them. Despite many people having abused me in the past, I have decided to show my magnanimous nature by forgiving them. Okay? Let's see. Zoya says, I show my magnanimous behavior with her. Yeah, behavior. Despite the criticism, she was magnanimous and forgave everyone who doubted her. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Magnanimous means to forgive someone or to show kindness to someone or to show compassion or generosity to someone when you don't really, you're not required to. Nobody's expecting it, but you decide to do it anyway, right? So if you're, let's say you're playing tennis against someone, right? And it's a competition, right? And everybody's very, very, right? Like it's a very popular competition, right? And you win against your opponent. You don't have to say anything good about your opponent after you win. You won. It's your time to be, in the spotlight, to have everybody talking about you. But when they ask you, when the reporters talk to you, you say, well, I would like to thank my opponent who was such a great competitor. And I really think I was lucky today that I'm not as good as she is or he is, but I just happen to have luck today. That's to be magnanimous. Okay? It doesn't just mean generous. It means generous when you don't need to be. Generous when no one's expecting you to be. Okay? To be generous is different. But to be magnanimous means nobody's really expecting you to be generous, but you are. Nobody's really expecting you to be kind, but you are. Nobody's really expecting you to be compassionate, but you are. That's to be magnanimous. It means to have great soul, to have great spirit. So even though you won, you still are nice. Not everybody is like that. Some people, when they win, they're not nice about it. Okay? Some people, when they have a lot, they're not nice. They're not kind to others. Right? So, to be magnanimous is to show kindness when you don't really need to or no one is expecting you to. Okay? That's to be magnanimous. Okay? Let's see. I had a quarrel with my classmates and we both had done something wrong, but it was just me who apologized. In this case, I can describe me as magnanimous. Yes. Yeah. So I had a quarrel with my classmates. We both had done something wrong. Right. So you were both wrong, but you decide to say, I'm going to be the bigger man. That's a way to describe being magnanimous. To be the bigger man means to say that I could make fun of you. I could be rude. I could be arrogant. I could be overly proud and condescending to you. But no, I'm going to be kind. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to forgive them. Okay? So again, it's not just generosity. It's any form of kindness that is not expected. Right? That's what magnanimous means. Okay? The next one is ephemeral. I think we did this one too. I think they're repeating the words too much. I need to make sure next time I need to say, don't repeat the words. Ephemeral means lasting a very short time. It comes from the Greek word ephemeros, meaning upon a day, lasting only one day. So the original meaning in Greek, epi and hemera, meaning one day or upon a day, within one day. Okay? And it's originally used for short-lived organisms like mayflies. So there are certain kinds of bugs that they live for only like one day and then they die. That's an ephemeral life. We use it in art, in life, philosophy, digital content, beauty, right? Beauty is ephemeral, right? It doesn't last forever, okay? Fashion trends are notoriously ephemeral. So what's cool today is not cool tomorrow. That's ephemeral, okay? You could just say life is ephemeral. That's a philosophical way to describe life. It's, what we think is a long time is really not a long time. It's just a blink of the eye. It's just a snap of the fingers. Okay? That's right, Shah. Life is ephemeral, so make it useful, otherwise you will have regret. Some philosophers said our souls are ephemeral. I'm not sure which philosophers you mean, Jason, but usually we say our bodies are ephemeral, our souls are forever. That's often the way it's described, right? Soul is something that can't be destroyed, but body can. Okay, so your body is ephemeral, for sure. The sunrise painted the sky in ephemeral colors that faded in minutes, right? So when you have a sunrise or a sunset, you have to get your camera out quickly because those beautiful colors are only there for a minute or two and then they're gone, right? So you have to catch the ephemeral sunset, okay? He seeks meaning in a world of ephemeral pleasures. So in this case, food. It's an ephemeral pleasure. You eat it, it's delicious, then it's gone. It's ephemeral, right? Especially if you have a particularly delicious meal. Maybe you love pizza or whatever, pasta, right? And you have pasta one time at this restaurant and it's the best pasta you've ever had in your life. You've never had pasta so delicious before and you enjoy it and it's delicious, but then it's gone. It's ephemeral. Okay? Your beauty is ephemeral. Don't brag about your appearance all the time. That's right. Yeah. We are here for ephemeral conditions. Zoya, what do you mean? Can you explain a little more? That might be okay. That might be okay. That's kind of a funny way to say it. The word of the day for me is ephemeral. And that would be funny because the meaning of the word ephemeral is upon a day. So when you say it's the word of the day, words of the day are ephemeral because it's just that day. Right? Why are the joyous moments in life ephemeral? Can I tell ways to make these moments everlasting? If I could, I would be a lot more famous than I am. No one knows how to make the ephemeral nature of life everlasting. No one knows how to do that. Dating apps have made relationships ephemeral. I think they might have contributed to making them feel that way. But I think relationships have always had an ephemeral nature to them, an ephemeral quality to them. If you look at the numbers, just statistically, Romina, right? Many, many, many relationships do not last, right? That's why you should cherish them if you have a good one, because most relationships do not last. They are ephemeral by nature. So if you have a relationship that lasts a long time, that's uncommon, not common, okay? Many, many relationships, they end. They're ephemeral. Hello, Nordine. One of the interesting things for me is that when I use the AI tools to correct English, the journal sent to me were not supporting AI. I don't know. What do you mean it doesn't support? I don't understand, Nordine. Can you try to tell me, explain it again? Your tough situation is ephemeral, so trust your Lord and move forward. Right? Something like that. Right. Yeah. Like in this world, we are ephemeral. That's right, yeah. You can say that. That would be a philosophical way to say life is short. Life is ephemeral. Is there an app or something that can help without using AI to correct grammar, without changing the meaning of the phrases? Noradine, there are some grammar correctors, but almost all of them use AI now, right? Like Grammarly is an AI grammar correction app. But what I think the problem is, Noradine, you need to tell ChatGPT, do not change the meaning of the phrases. Do not change the meaning of what I'm saying. Right? You need to be more direct and tell it. That's the biggest mistake people make when they ask ChatGPT a question, is they ask too simple of a question. You need to be very, very, very specific. The more specific you are, the better answer that you will get. Okay? I have to accept that my dog's life is ephemeral. That's correct. Having a pet is one of those things that's ephemeral. You know, they're here and they're gone, unfortunately, too soon. Abdullah says long-lasting relationships are really common. Not statistically. Do a search. Ask ChatGPT. How many relationships last more than 50 years? Not many. Culturally, it might vary in different places, but 50% of marriages end in divorce in the United States. At least 50%. Technological advancements have made relationships ephemeral. Not even a single relationship goes longer. Maybe. I think that's an opinion, less than a fact. But technology is a tool, everyone. A tool is only as good as its user. Right? So if I give a hammer to a carpenter can build a beautiful bookcase. If I give that same hammer to a small child, that child can destroy the house. A tool is only as good as its user. So technology itself is not the reason why your relationships don't last. Crystal says try Quillbot. I'm not familiar with that one. Is ephemeral similar to temporary? Not really. It's more like a philosophical temporary description, right? It's a way to describe temporary things in a philosophical way. Life is ephemeral. Life is not temporary. Temporary is for commonplace things, right? Let me think. So, for example, maybe I'm sick, and I work at this office, right? So I can't come into the office for a few weeks. Maybe I have COVID and I'm sick. So the office, what does the office do? They hire a temp. Temp is a short word for a temporary employee. Somebody who's there only for a short time. You wouldn't call them an ephemeral employee. That would be weird. Ephemeral is used for philosophical type of ideas, concepts, right? So it's a conceptual word. Temporary is used for tangible, real things, okay? You could say life is temporary, but that feels weird. Life is ephemeral. That's correct. In the Middle East, it's different, right? Like, yeah, it might be. You know, again, culturally, that does change a bit, depending on where you look. Okay, let's move on. Oh, here's a good one. Pedantic. Pedantic. Pedantic means overly concerned with formal rules or book learning. And that's people who correct you about silly little things. You know, maybe you didn't say a phrase perfectly correctly, and they correct you. They are being pedantic. Okay? Yeah, I'm I'm not very fond of pedantic people. Sometimes they're being pedantic because they want to show off. They want to show off. Ah, it's you, Crystal? Well, be careful. Be careful with that, you know? Knowledge is not something that should be used to beat others over the head. You shouldn't beat people over the head with your knowledge. Being pedantic, that's kind of like that, right? When you correct someone with good intentions, that's not being pedantic. It's when you correct someone when you didn't need to correct them and they don't really want to be corrected. Now you're being pedantic. You do it with good intention. Well, it's not the worst quality to have, Crystal. You know, it means that you care, but you just need to remember that the things you care about and the things you feel are very important are not always the same things that everyone feels are very important. Okay? Is it good for a teacher to be pedantic? To a point, yes. Right? If you're in my class, for example, just recently, right, someone typed the letter U for the word you, Y-O-U, and I corrected them. That is pedantic, but at the same time, it's not in this context because I'm an English teacher. That is what I'm supposed to do. It would be irresponsible if you were, you know, in an English class with a teacher and the teacher didn't correct little problems like that. That would be bad, right? But if you're just talking with your friends and you're not in an English class, I still don't like it when people use the letter U. I think it's just so lazy. You're not saving any time. It's 2 more letters. Just write it. To me, it shows intellectual laze. If people write messages to me and they don't have time to write the letters Y-O-U, to me that shows that you are not very particular in life. And maybe that's not a good quality, right? But if your friend is constantly correcting you when you're just hanging out, that they might be a bit pedantic. Okay? And so if you ask them if they're willing to be corrected, then that's not pedantic. As long as they agree to it, then it's not pedantic. Okay? You also use you sometimes when you're lazy. But I want you to think about it, guys. I want you to think about it. Does it really save you any real time in life? How many years do you get saved in your life if you just type the letter U versus the letters Y-O-U? Are you saving a year? No. Are you saving an hour? Maybe at best. At best. In your entire life, if you write the letters Y-O-U every time, it might cost you 1 more hour of your life for your entire life. Right? But here's what I will tell you. It looks either lazy or it looks immature. When you type that way, do you want people to think you're immature? Because that's what it looks like. So consider that. Okay? Consider that. Does pedantic mean you have bad intentions? Well, let's take a look at the examples and you can decide for yourself. It comes from the French word pedant, or the Italian word pedante, meaning a teacher or schoolmaster, right? So it's related to the word pedagogus, or pedagogy, meaning teaching, right? So it's funny, but pedagogus was actually the slave who escorted the children to school in Latin in the Roman times. It's used in academia, personality descriptions, criticisms of tone or writing. So his pedantic insistence on grammar made conversations exhausting, right? So if someone is correcting you every single sentence that you say, that's pedantic and exhausting. Okay? Especially if you didn't ask to be corrected. If you're in an English class, then I would expect the teacher to be pedantic about your English. But if you're not, then correcting someone occasionally is okay. But if you correct them all the time, especially over small things, it's pedantic. Okay? The book is well researched but often feels pedantic. Okay, so in that case, the book is written well, but the way they describe things, it's overly critical. It's overly critical. Okay? She corrected every tiny mistake with a pedantic precision. So yeah, I think I would say in general, pedantic is a pejorative term. It's a negative term. It's a negative term. It's not a good thing to be pedantic. Okay? To be a pedant. Huh? Frank, I have no idea what you're talking about. Life is so I won't even finish that sentence. Never mind. He sounded pedantic when he kept interrupting to point out minor grammar mistakes during the discussion. Good. That's correct. Catherine, what word are you trying to say? Are you trying to say overly cliche? That's not how you spell that, but I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Zoya, pedantic just means somebody who corrects every little mistake you make, especially in things like grammar. Okay, or anything critical. If I'm teaching drums, right? I'm teaching drums and I have a student who's a beginner, and they just want to learn the rock beat that goes to their favorite song, right? But I'm correcting the way their hand and their fingers are not quite right, and the way they're not sitting up quite correctly, and the way that they are not looking in the right direction, and that's pedantic. For a young student, you shouldn't be too pedantic, Paying too much attention to small rules or details. That's right. Okay, many of the essays are long and too pedantic. Correct. Catherine, I'm not sure what word you're talking about. Liquid sill is not a word. I'm confused, Catherine. Where did you see that? Did I say that? I don't think I said anything like that. Did I? Where did you see this word? Yeah, too strict or too demanding in a way that's annoying and not helpful. That's really the point, is a pedantic person is correcting you in a way that's a bit annoying and not really that helpful. And it's kind of like they're showing off, right? Do you know somebody like that? That maybe you want to learn to hit a baseball, and you know somebody who's great at baseball, but when they teach you, they correct too much, and it makes it completely not fun, not enjoyable, not interesting, and annoying. That's pedantic. Okay? How about using the small letter I instead of the big letter I? No. What? Why? Why do that? First of all, most texting, if you have the grammar correction on or the spell correct on, spell prediction, right? Word prediction, it will give you the correct letter I, the uppercase I. It'll automatically do that for you. So you shouldn't have a problem with that in most cases anyway. One. Two, again, it depends on where you are, right? If you're texting with your friend, nobody cares, right, on an app. But if you're texting with your boss, it might be better to use the big letter I, right? If you're in school, if I see you use that in school, it's wrong. There is no excuse. If you're in school, if you're at work, if you're doing anything serious in life, then be serious. That's not a hard thing to understand. Have you guys ever been to an art museum? Have you guys ever been to an art museum? Like just recently, I visited my friend Belen, and I went to the Prado Museum in Madrid. If you've ever been to an art museum and you've seen the art and looked at it up close, I want you to think about how many hundreds of hours it took to make one of those paintings. Just think about how many hundreds or even thousands of hours it might have taken. And you don't have time to write the letters Y-O-U or a capital I? How far we have fallen as a species. Technology has made you lazy. You have the potential for greatness. But greatness, it's an expensive ticket. The ticket to greatness is expensive. It costs patience. It costs time. It costs discipline. It costs dedication. It costs focus. It costs passion. Work smarter but not harder. But that has nothing to do with being lazy. It doesn't say work smarter, not harder, be lazy. That is not the saying. Okay? Yeah, Belen. I mean, I went to visit the Prado twice. The first time I was there for 2 hours. The second time I was there for 6 hours, about. And I still didn't feel I saw everything enough. I didn't have enough time to see everything like I wanted to. Let's see. When I explained the book is well researched but pedantic, you said it's over. Oh, what did I say? I think I said overly detailed. Maybe? Did I say overly detailed? Catherine? Maybe? Yeah. Overly detailed. Okay? In terms of using things like the letter U and not worrying about your capital I, here's what I will say. Those who don't show care for the small things in life usually don't show much care for the big things in life either. Consider that. Okay? laze is not a positive quality. And it's not efficient. Laze is laze. Efficient is efficient. They're very different things. Efficiency still expects correctness. Okay? If you do something efficiently but incorrectly, that's not efficient at all. So, that's what I will say about using words like the letter U for Y-O-U, or not worrying about your letter, big letter I or small letter I. Those who show lays in the small things in life often show lays in the big things in life too. All right, next word, recalcitrant. Recalcitrant. Recalcitrant means stubbornly resisting authority or control. Okay, so recalcitrant is somebody, a student that I always have to punish. They never listen. They're always cheating. They're always talking in class. They never care. They come back and they cheat again, and they talk in class again and again and again and again and again. They are recalcitrant. They are recalcitrant. My friend who doesn't have a name from Morocco, yes, English is difficult. Any language is difficult. But nobody's expecting you to be perfect from the beginning. But the reason people use the letter U is not because it's difficult to write Y-O-U. The reason people use small letter I instead of big letter I when they're saying I want something is not because it's difficult. That's only because it's lazy. Okay? It doesn't mean interruption. No, it means somebody who's always bad and never learns. They're always bad, they never learn. They keep doing bad things. They're recalcitrant. Their behavior is recalcitrant. CJ, hello. I see you. Hello. Recalcitrant. 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 And it comes from the Latin word recalcitrantem, or recalcitrare, meaning to kick back. So means back in this case, and calcitrare means to kick. Because you have to kick them back again into the jail. Right? So they commit a crime, and then they come out, and then they commit another crime, and you kick them back to the jail again, and then they commit another crime, and you kick them back to the jail again and again and again. Okay? Parents are recalcitrant, but educate their children. Some parents might be recalcitrant, but try to educate their children. Maybe. But recalcitrant is usually a word we're using when we talk about just think about the bad student in class who's always bad. He just keeps getting into trouble over and over and over again. That's recalcitrant behavior. Okay? What's the difference between rebellious and this word? To rebel just means to go against something, right? So to be rebellious, you might only be rebellious once. To be recalcitrant means that you are doing something against again and again and again, over and over again, repeating this behavior. It's not like headstrong. Headstrong can be a positive term. Headstrong is the positive version of stubborn. Okay, headstrong is more of a positive tone to say like they have strong beliefs. It can have a negative tone, but I think it's more of like a positive way to say stubborn. They're headstrong. Okay? The recalcitrant dog refused to come when called. Yeah, that might work better, but maybe it would be better if you said the recalcitrant dog was always biting people. right? Like, no matter what you do, the dog just keeps biting people. You keep trying to teach the dog not to bite people, but it keeps doing it. But I don't think it's really great to use it to talk again about pets because, dogs are dogs. We can't expect that much from a dog. But, again, I want you to think about a student in class who gets in trouble every day. That's a recalcitrant student. If you think about a person who commits crimes all the time, they just keep committing crimes. They commit a crime and they make a mistake, they go to prison, they get out, they commit another crime, they go back to prison, they commit another crime, that's recalcitrant. Okay? Stubbornly resisting authority or control, okay? So, for example, the recalcitrant student refused to follow the classroom rules. So every day they're talking in class. And I say, stop talking. And the next day I say, stop talking. And the next day I say, stop talking. Okay? It can be used on animals, but I feel it's a little awkward because I think you shouldn't expect so much from animals as we should expect from people. The behavior of people is something that we expect more from. Okay? And yes, these are for advanced vocabulary words, okay? Not for beginners, okay? No, recalcitrant does not mean stupid or silly. Recalcitrant means to be bad again and again and again, to break the rules again and again and again, and to show that you don't care about the rules. That's to be recalcitrant. Okay? Yes, I have online classes. You must go to my website. I'll give you my website. One moment. There's my website. Go to my website. You can sign up for classes. But it's not free. Okay? This is my job. You have to pay me. Okay? Okay. He remained recalcitrant, refusing to cooperate even under threat. So no matter what you threaten, you say, if you don't do this, then I'm going to this. If you don't do this, I'm going to this. And they keep ignoring what you say, then they are being recalcitrant. Okay? Managing recalcitrant employees requires both firmness and empathy. So, managing recalcitrant students requires both firmness and empathy. When a student is bad many, many, many times, there is usually a good reason. Maybe they have trouble at home, maybe they have some kind of personal problems. So, a good teacher should recognize when a student is being bad again and again and again, you should ask why. You should think, what's the psychology here? Okay? Yes, I also have a YouTube channel. It's right here. Oh, speaking of which, hello, Miguel. Hello, Christian. And hello, Lozo. I think I have the monthly subscription. Who's my favorite drummer? Steve Gadd. Christian. Okay, let's go back. Lugubrious. It's the final word for today. I think we're going to end with this one. Lugubrious, meaning that you look or sound sad or dismal. You look or sound sad and dismal. That is to be lugubrious. And it comes from the Latin word lugubris, meaning mournful. Lugere, to mourn. So, it's used for tone, mood, personality, and literature. His lugubrious expression suggested something terrible had happened. So it's a really, really fancy way to say sad. Okay? It's a really fancy way to say sad. The film's lugubrious tone made it hard to watch. Okay? You might also say melancholic or melancholy, right? She told the story with a lugubrious voice that bordered on theatrical. So this means that she told the story with a very, very, very sad, sad voice that sounded kind of like too dramatic. Okay? That's to be lugubrious. Lugubrious. Gloomy. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but gloomy would be a more common way to say it, right? Gloomy is a word we often use when we're talking about weather, for example, right? Today's a gloomy day. Actually, today is a gloomy day here. There's a lot of clouds. It's a little windy. It's a little bit cold. It's gloomy. I don't think I would describe today as lugubrious. So use this word when you want to really, really exaggerate the idea of sadness. Okay? Sorrowful would be another good way to say sad. Let me think of lugubrious versus sorrowful. Let's see. Yeah, I think those could be synonymous. And again, I think lugubrious would be like the absolute most academic way to say sad, right? You could say lugubrious, melancholic, sorrowful, gloomy, sad, right? Sad's very common. Lugubrious is very academic, okay? Sometimes I feel lugubrious for my English. Yeah, maybe I would say about my English or regarding my English. Okay? And I want you to try to remember that when you're using an academically difficult word, you should try to use it in an academically difficult context, right? Context is important, right? So when you're talking about something as common as the weather, gloomy would be a better word than lugubrious. But if I'm discussing, perhaps I watched maybe a Shakespearean tragedy, right? I watched a tragedy of Shakespeare, right? And that would be a good time to describe the lugubrious tone of the play. Okay? That would be better than using sad. Sad is too commonplace. Okay? Yes, you can use it as an adverb as well, lugubriously, yeah. Mm-hmm. Woeful, yeah. Mm-hmm. Again, I would say that one's a little bit higher. So lugubrious, melancholic, woeful, sorrowful, sad, something like that. Gloomy, sad, okay? All right, guys, it has been over 2 hours. I've been here for 2 hours and 4 minutes, and I need to eat. My stomach is making noises. So I do need to take a break. Let's see here. So before I go, I will remind you, if you want to go to my website, you can follow me on my website. And on my website, you will find my schedule. And you will also find, very important, you will find many resources for studying English. If you need to practice your reading, go to my website. If you need to practice your writing, go to my website. If you need to practice your speaking, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, go to my website. It is free. I found every good resource I could find that is a free resource to study English, and I put them on my website right here. AFIECEnglish.com. AFIECEnglish.com. Okay? And this, if you want to watch this again, if you came late, then you can go to my YouTube channel. This will be uploaded to YouTube as soon as I finish. So after this is finished, you can go to my YouTube and you can watch the entire thing. Again, you can make notes. Okay? I put them in the chat right there, Hussein. Copy and paste. There's my website. And there is my YouTube. Okay? Thank you, Belen. I saw your messages earlier today. I'll try to reply to you guys a little bit later. But yeah, I need to get some food. You're welcome, Michael. I will be back tonight for a voice room. I prefer my live streams, guys. I want to be on camera. I want to see people. I want you to feel like you have a teacher in a classroom. And if you can't see me, then no, that doesn't feel the same. So I still am trying to understand why anyone would prefer a voice room rather than a live stream, because there is no good reason. The only reason is that you're scared. That's not a good reason. You're too scared to join a live stream because you think that the camera is scary somehow. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. If I do a live stream, I have many, many more tools I can use. I can share screen. I can show you ChatGPT. I can show you websites. I can show you Google Earth. I can show you many, many things here that cannot be done in a voice room. So, Brun says you can have more interactions with students in the voice room like 7 can join. But not really, because when 7 people are on the stage, I can only talk to one person at a time still. Right? I don't know how everybody else does it, but you can't have a good conversation with more than one person at the same time in that setting. You just can't. So, live streams, I think, are better. It's a classroom. You have a teacher. Me. Okay? If you really want to learn, you should be in my live streams. If you really want to learn, you should be in my live streams. Okay? What's the topic for my next voice room? I can't remember. Let's see. What am I doing tonight? Or what am I supposed to be doing tonight? I may change it. We'll see. Schedule. Let's see. One moment. My schedule for tonight is, it's supposed to be describe it without saying anything. So on this voice room, I will give you a word or phrase, and then you have to try to describe it in another way. So for example, if I say refrigerator, you can say an appliance. You can say it's square or rectangular. You can say it's found in the kitchen. You can say it's a thing that's used to keep things cold, right? It's a way to practice using your language to paraphrase, right? Which means to say things in another way, okay? Yeah, I think the live streams are better, and I just don't know. I mean, you might think that you're going to get more of a chance to talk, but guys, just talking, to be honest with you, it's not that valuable unless you're talking to someone of value. So if you join a voice room and you talk to somebody who's not a teacher who can't really help you, are you really getting any practice? Is it really benefiting you at all? Not really. Okay? So, just joining because you think you're going to get to talk more, no. It's just better if you have a real teacher. Let's just put it that way. Okay? Okay, guys, I have to go. My stomach is growling. I need to go. Hello, Miriam. You're a little bit late. It's time to go. I must leave. But I will see you guys later tonight, okay? Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening. See you later. Bye-bye.